which I want to call it Furthering Conversations About Faith and Science, and trying to see the integration or the intersection between the two fields or the two disciplines, and what lessons we can draw from there, or what worldview questions we can be able to ask as worldview students or worldview scholars, and also those that are doing ethics and other foundation courses as well. But it's not only limited to those that are doing foundation courses, it's also touches questions that we deal with on an everyday basis. And I'm really, really excited about our keynote speaker that we have today, who I will be introducing just in a bit, that will be sharing with us. So I'm really excited, and I hope you are, about this public debate for today. Our program for the day is that we will start with prayer and devotion, and then after prayer and devotion, we'll have remarks from the Directorate of Research, Partnerships and Innovations, and then after that, we will go right into inviting our fashion stars from the art department, and then after the fashion show, we'll go straight into our discussions of the day. And so, as we get into these conversations, let me remind you students that the Directorate of Research, Partnerships and Innovations at UCU has organized a Research and Innovation Symposium happening next month from the 16th to the 17th of October. So it's a place to showcase different research activities, but also different innovations that your fellow students have been working on. And let me say that this debate is one of those activities that we have put in place in our roadmap leading to the research symposium, as a way of trying to see the different ideas that are shaping research and innovation in the different spaces that we're in. And so, friends, allow me welcome you once again to this public debate. My name is Jonathan Tumwebaze. I head the Research, Grants and Innovations Unit in the Directorate of Research, Partnerships and Innovations. And it's a joy for me to be in these conversations. And I must say that I was part of the Areopagus conversations a few years ago when I was doing my undergrad and my postgrad here and in this place. So it's a joy for me to be in these kinds of conversations. So without taking much of our time, allow me invite the Reverend Dr. Feta Simon, who is our chaplain, our assistant chaplain for Kampala Campus School of Medicine, to lead us in a word of prayer and devotion, but also give us some insights with regards to the histories that shape, or rather put conversations together that shape Areopagus and our afternoon's debate. So friends, put your hands together as we welcome Reverend Dr. Feta.
Good afternoon. I hope you and you from scripture say, otherwise but if you open with me to the book of Ecclesiastes, Ecclesiastes chapter 3, and I read from verse 9 to 15, actually 16b. What do workers gain from their toil? I have God has led human race. He made everything in its time. He has eternity in the human heart. Yet no one can fathom what God has done from the beginning to end. I know that there is better people than to be happy and do them may eat and drink and find satisfaction in all their. This is the gift of God. I know that everything God does will endure forever. Nothing can be added to it, and nothing can from it. Does it here? And whatever will be has been before. Even here in the hearing of your people, the Lord, they may be tickled, but most importantly, turn toward you. In our reflection about beauty and everything therein, and that speaks about it. In Jesus Christ, I pray. Amen. Five years ago, I was in a space where all my classmates had taken plastic surgery, except me. Because their eyes were so narrow that they need to open it and be a little curvy and look a little bit handsome and beautiful. And when I interrogated, they told me actually that it is hard for a child to be 5 years or 8 years without their eyes and noses and faces sometimes going through surgery, to see them the way they see them, to look and the way how they look at them. And at that point, I was like, wow, that means my design is so peculiar and unique that I have survived this number of years and I have had no time to readjust myself, except to follow in the DNA pattern that I was crafted before I knew I existed, and begin to live in the design and be appreciative for it. Not that they did something wrong. I think they invested everything they could that they can be presentable. But in the Bible, one space I find very, very intriguing is the Old Testament. And in it, one word binds it. It's the word wisdom. And in the Old Testament wisdom, the writer putting down in the book of Ecclesiastes does appropriate timing as central to some of the things that exist. And here, in the reading of Ecclesiastes, the writer uses the image of workers. What do workers gain from their toil? And quickly, when I read that, I remembered that that phrase of workers and toil, the combination, only was first immersed in Genesis chapter 3, when God arrived and work became toil. Work became toil. Yet, before toil, work was itself beautiful and good and excellent. But here, the proverb writer, rather, the book of Ecclesiastes writes and says, what do workers gain from their toil? I have seen the burden God has laid on the human race. And that burden laid on the human race is nowhere else found in the book of Genesis chapter 3. That burden is of whether human beings can still understand themselves as in the image and likeness of God or not. In fact, for us to appreciate beauty, we must return to the designer, the one who fashioned us in creation to be in his image and after his likeness. Yet, that image and that likeness began to be embraced with complexity, began to be faced with difficulty, that the human race now is experiencing something more heavier than it was before the time of its fall. And so, he has made everything beautiful in its time. That is the wisdom, the word the writer puts. God has put everything beautiful in its time. One day, I bothered to find out why is time so important, particularly in our postmodern times. I discovered that the one who promoted the concept of time was a businessman who was spending time and upon whom everybody in the community, particularly in London, was depending on him to indicate when they could come to him to pick goods and move to where they're supposed to move. And so he said when they could arrive and said when they could not arrive. And because the people who were coming were landlords, not small ones, landlords as big as the whole of Mukono district, right? Landlords, because they had influence. So they depended on this man to see how to begin to manage. Because of his work, some of the schools and people began to pick interest, then move the thinking of the practice of commerce into putting it into the clock and watches that now we find ourselves putting on today. But the concept that he involved was the Big Bang when you go to London. But in the context of our topic and in the history we find ourselves in, the Areopagus, Paul writing just amplify the concept of time, that God is very, very vigilant. Allow me to read to you Acts chapter 17, just to say exactly what this concept is. Acts chapter 17, Paul is invited, and when he's invited, he's received, and when he's received, certain things begin to move left and right and center. But allow me to pick from Acts chapter 17, and I read for you from verse 19. Then they took him, Paul, and brought him to a meeting of the Areopagus, where they said to him, may we know what this new teaching is that you are presenting. You are bringing some strange ideas to our ears, and we would like to know what they mean. All the Athenians and the foreigners who lived there spent their time doing nothing but talking about and listening to the latest ideas. Paul then stood up in the meeting of the Areopagus and said, people of Athens, I see that in every way you are very religious. For as I walked around and looked carefully at your object of worship, I even found an altar with this inscription, to an unknown God. So you are ignorant of the very thing you worship. And this is what I am going to proclaim to you. Verse 24. The God who made the world and everything in it is the Lord of heaven and earth, and does not live in temples built by human hands. And he is not served by human hands, as if he needed anything. Rather, he himself gives everyone life and breath and everything else. Verse 26, from one man he made all the nations, that they should inhabit the whole earth, and he marked out their appropriate times in history and the boundaries of their hands. God did this so that they would seek him and perhaps reach out for him and find him, though he is not far from any one of us. That isn't a coincidence. That shows that Paul was a very good scholar and schooled in the Old Testament, because there was no way he would lay these arguments without reading the Old Testament. In fact, he's just amplifying exactly what the book of the wisdom says here. That verse 11, he has made everything beautiful in its time. He has also set eternity in the heart, in the human heart, yet not one can fathom what God has done from the beginning to the end. Here are 2 points to wrestle with as we go forward. Beauty is birthed in God. Beauty is birthed in God. If there's any place where you find beauty birthed, it is a continuation of recreating beauty. It's a continuation of recreating beauty, regardless of what you see. In fact, it's amazing that when you walk to the main building and you look closely into the arch, it is a leaf, three-folded leaf. Yeah. Very, very vital. God is in beauty. And without God, beauty cannot exist. And secondly, and I think the most importantly, that if anyone is adventuring in beauty and is damaging the image of God and the creation and actions of whatever is called beauty, is taking the image of God away from the creator of the image of God, you are responsible and you're walking on a curse of a toil, like pronounced upon Adam and Eve. And I pray that as we listen, be attentive. Let your DNA remind you that you must worship the one who has made you. The Lord be with you.
Let's give another round of applause to Reverend Dr. Feta for laying to us such an interesting framework, in a sense that he's giving us a biblical foundation that defines, or rather casts us into thinking of where does Areopagus start from, okay? As we engage into conversations of Areopagus, where does that start from? That it's a place of dialogue, a space where we come, which was a designated space in Athens, where people would come and try to be able to argue and talk about some of the things that were pressing or shaping their society at that particular point. And I'm happy to say that we borrow from that tradition, the questioning tradition, the engaging tradition, the tradition that invites you and I into a space of let's have dialogue, let's have conversations, okay, about this complex thing called beauty. And also Reverend points out to the fact that for us to be able to define beauty, then we must be able to define the one who defines the bearer of this beauty, and that thread takes us back to Genesis 1 or to creation or to God and things like that. And so I'm happy to say that situating these conversations in light with our theme today, that beautification and body image, the art and the science behind it. And so I'm happy that we have very interesting panelists to engage with us. And let me pause for a second and just give a few remarks about the Directorate of Research, Partnerships and Innovations. And within the Directorate, These kinds of conversations are nested within community engagements and partnerships unit that is headed by Dr. Miriam Mutabazi. I don't know whether, yes. Dr. Miriam is the one who heads, and she is the main convener of these conversations. So it is within the directorate that we invite these kinds of discussions. And we are the kinds of Christians or scholars that are not afraid to engage even with those spaces that could seem to be contradictory in a way, but we engage them from a place of humility, but also knowing, acknowledging our own fallibilities, that we could be wrong at the end of it all, but pointing us to the greater I am and the greater truths. And I'm also happy to mention that within the directorate, we have a number of other entities, and in that, we have the Research Ethics Committee that is led by Osborne Ahimbisibwe, who is our manager for the rake. Within the directorate, we also have our growing animal rake that is growing and soon will be established in there, but we have our administrator, Fiona Twesigomwe. I don't know where Fiona is. Yes, Fiona serves in the directorate. We also have our grants manager, Hamilton Mbokureba. I think most of you are familiar with him, right at the back. And so this team is headed or led by the director, Professor Elizabeth Chizito Baliejisa, who is the one who leads our team in the directorate. So thank you so much for the resources that you've put in and the time, and also to intentionally think about these conversations within the Christian spaces for us to be able to engage. So we invite these kinds of conversations in the directorate. So it is within our mandate as the directorate to grow our research, but also having research that is contextually relevant in a sense that it answers our everyday questions and solves our everyday problems in that particular case. And so this is also one of the things that is within the directorate. So we are happy and we're thankful to the professors in foundations departments, and specifically within the School of Divinity and Theology, who have allowed their students offering ethics and worldviews and other foundation courses to come and sit in these conversations. But we're also aware of the fact that we also have other courses that are represented in this place, coming from the different schools that we have in the university. So thank you so much for coming to be part of these conversations. We also would like to acknowledge the presence of different university administrators that have taken off time from their desks to come and be a part of these conversations. So thank you so much for coming to be a part of these kinds of dialogues that shape our everyday life, and rather making us Christians, or rather believers, that think very deeply about their faith or that which they believe in the long haul. So thank you so much for that. And so without taking much of our time, allow me invite Josephine from the Visual Arts Department to come and be able to introduce our next item on board. And as she comes, I would like to re-echo that it's important for us as we talk about our theme for today, that beautification and body image, for us to think about our dress code and how we dress up and how we look and things like that. And so she will be talking to us about the different dress codes or the different transitions in body beautification, specifically thinking about the things that, what we dress up in as our theme for the next session. So thank you very much, Josephine. You're most welcome.
From the dawn of time, humans have attempted to define beauty. But beauty has changed and beauty has transformed. We do not have one definition of beauty, but many definitions of beauty. The Bible says that inner beauty is what matters. It is a gift from God. Beauty is fleeting, but yet a gentle spirit lasts forever. The most beautiful thing a person can possess is a heart that reflects God's character. Ladies and gentlemen, doctors of beauty and masters of transformation, today the Department of Visual Art and Design presents to you a runway, not just about fabric, but about form, about proportion, and about timeless perfection. Timothy, drop the beat. Timothy, drop the beat. Our first model represents a classic, timeless look. Where you are? Our first model saint presents a classic, elegant look. Timeless, smooth, wrinkle-free, honest. This outfit is more than Botox in the whole of Kampala. It will never show age. Sharon is a burst of color, standing down the runway like a fresh filler treatment. It is plump, it is energetic, and it erases all signs of age.
Aye, mashaka, aye. Aye, mashaka, aye. Aye, mashaka, aye. Aye, mashaka, aye. Ilabo lova ba kichi bestateni. Ilabo lova ba paneli mindeni. Ilabo lova man, ilabo lova man, ilabo lova. Aye, mashaka, aye. Aye, mashaka, aye. Aye, mashaka, aye. Aye, mashaka, aye. Ilabo lova ba paneli mindeni. Ilabo lova ba kichi bestateni. Ilabo lova man, ilabo lova.
Raymond, on the other hand, is a figure of sculpture. Just the right angles, with sharp lines and definition, like the fashion version of a jawline treatment. His contours are strong, confident, and perfect. Here comes high fashion, dramatic, daring, silently experimental, the kind of look you'd only wear if you had a confident surgeon. Ivana, sometimes less is definitely more. This outfit is like a subtle tweak, a little lift, a tiny adjustment. No one can quite tell what the difference is. Fabian, a confident shoulder, a commanding presence, just like a tummy tuck. The fashion is strong, it is firm, no excess, nothing hanging. muscular look, gentle enhancement, subtle volume, and just enough detail to make you fall in love. Dramatic, confident, and comfortable. Ladies and gentlemen, you have seen that fashion and plastic surgery share the same secret: confidence, creativity, and a perfect touch of enhancement. Today's runway was proof beauty is both science and art, and a little sparkle of magic. Please welcome the models for the last round.
Asiqala ka-ake manje sambe kanje. Awuzweke.
Let's give them another round of applause, okay? All right. That's really, really wonderful. And those are students, and Josephine is a lecturer in the Department of Visual Arts. And it's a joy to see our students exhibiting their works and what they're doing in that. And also the works that you see displayed in the different corners, these are works by your fellow students. And our guests, these are works, some of the works by our students that they're doing. And so we have gotten starting to get a feel of the art and science within beautification. And now allow me take us to the next part of our program, where we'll be introducing our panelists and our presenters that we have, our main debaters that we have today or this afternoon. And dear panelists, as I introduce you, you'll kindly take your seat at the front. Let me begin with Asimwe Hannah, who is an emerging leader in youth and women empowerment with a deep commitment to service and leadership. And let me tell you that at age of 21, she has served as the leader of Pace Setters Fellowship, a vibrant youth ministry across different university campuses. She is also a part of the Youth and Women Empowerment Program, and the initiative that is aimed at supporting women in soft skills. And she's currently envisioning generating empowerment for youth and women in different parts of the communities. She is a law student here at Uganda Christian University, and we are very happy to have you. Thank you so much, Hannah, for being here. Please make Hannah welcome. Our second panelist is none other than Paul Chris, who is a computer science student at Uganda Christian University, and he is also one that loves problem solving and asking big questions and engaging in big debates. He is also very passionate about knowledge generation and philosophy. He is also fully persuaded that God is the designer of all things, and he also currently serves as the chairperson of the youth committee and youth ministry at the Thornycroft Chapel at UCU. Friends, welcome with me, Mr. Paul. And our second panelist is one that is familiar to those that we call the historicals, who have been around the UCU corridors for quite some time. He holds a bachelor's degree in philosophy and science from Makerere University, and holds a master's in philosophy and bioethics, specifically from Bergen University in Norway. He holds a PhD in philosophy from Makerere University, and currently serves as the head of the philosophy department at the Makerere University College of Humanities and Social Sciences, known as CHUS in Makerere. His research interests are in bioethics, governance and philosophy, sustainable development. He's a member of many networks, including Alternative Perspectives on Global Concern, Africa Policy Center, European Society for Research and Ethics, and he is a well-established academic, scholar, and debater in issues of ethics and faith. Ladies and gentlemen, join with me to welcome Dr. Dickson Kanakulia. Doctor, you're more welcome to Uganda Christian University. And friends, our fourth panelist, let me begin by saying that she holds a Bachelor's of Medicine and Surgery from Makerere University, has a Master's of Medicine in Pediatrics and Child Health from Makerere University, and holds a PhD from the School of Biomedical Sciences at the University of Antwerp in Belgium. She is a specialist in pediatrician and a senior lecturer in the Department of Pediatrics and Child Health in Makerere University. She spends her clinical work caring for children and adolescents with HIV, especially those in perinatally affected, those that are perinatally affected. She is the director of Adolescent Health Training Program in Makerere, and she's the founder and president of the Adolescent Health in Uganda. Ladies and gentlemen, join me to welcome none other than Dr. Sabrina Bachireka Chitaka. Doctor, you're most welcome. It's a joy for us to have you. Bring to us your wealth of experience that you have. And our last panelist, for this one, I will not request him to take his seat. I will kindly request him to join me right here when I introduce him so that we can start, we can have his presentation right away. And dear friends, our fifth panelist is none other than a plastic surgeon, plastic reconstructive and cosmetic surgeon. He holds a Bachelor's of Medicine and Surgery from Makerere University, a Master's in Plastic and Reconstructive Surgery from Mombasa University. He's a member, specialist, and honorary fellow at the College of Surgeons of East, Central, and Southern Africa. He is a specialist in many areas, including cosmetic and reconstructive surgery, facial rejuvenation, oh my God, breast surgery, both cosmetic and constructive body contouring and reconstructive surgery, everything surgery, let's just say, scar management, regenerative procedures. These include hair, eyebrows transplant, vitiligo surgery, Nile bed transplant. Let me just pause at that, friends. Let's put our hands together and welcome our main panelist for the day, none other than Dr. William Lubega. It's a joy for us to have you come to speak to us today. So you're welcome, Doctor.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for that introduction. My name is Dr. William Lubega. Yeah, those are my qualifications. So today we are discussing about beautification and body image. What is the science behind it? Is it biblical? And how far should we go? So I'd want probably to change and say it's both an art and a science. So it's not just a science, but it's an art and a science. So many moons ago, after med school, when I was doing actually my 5th year in medical school, I was deciding what kind of career path, what kind of doctor do I want to be. And by then we had Facebook. The year was 2009. I don't know where some of you were in 2009. But I wrote this message on my Facebook. I said, I can't wait to finish medical school this fall and might specialize in plastic surgery. So you guys start saving up for makeovers. So in Uganda, there were basically, I think like 4 or 5 plastic surgeons who were practicing then. And most of them were in Mulago and doing lots of band surgery. So in Uganda, most of the plastic surgery then was it was more reconstructive. So it was about people who were involved in accidents, people who had fires. That's what plastic surgery was in Uganda then. But it has since evolved. The picture on the left was me. Can you guess what we were doing then? Can anybody guess? It seems like we are cooking something, right? Probably burning something. So then I was working in Kagando Hospital, okay? So I'd gone for a camp. So there was this lady, she was a mother of 5, and she had, I don't know how many of you know umbilical hernias. So she was a mother of 5. She had a very big umbilical hernia. She had what we call rectus diastasis. With rectus diastasis, after giving birth, for some women, their abdomen still remains very, you look pregnant even after you've delivered, okay? So she had 2 problems. She had the hernia and she had the rectus diastasis. But what we did then, I keep saying we did the cheapest tummy tuck ever because it was free. So we repaired her umbilical hernia and we did a tummy tuck for her because we needed to tighten the muscles. And this was a rural woman. She probably doesn't even know where Kampala was then, but she was able to have a tummy tuck in a village hospital. But she really had a problem because every time her children will ask her, when are you giving birth? As they thought she was pregnant, and they always expected to have a baby sister or a baby brother from her, but she wasn't. It was because of the illness and also because of the pregnancy. So when we look at beautification, beautification is not something new. Beautification has always been with us, okay? It can be traced back from the ancient civilization. When you look at, for example, in Egypt, and you're looking at the Cleopatras, you're looking at most of the queens in Egypt. It was they had their perfumes, they had their artifacts, they had minerals they would smear themselves, they had lotion, they bathed in milk and honey. So people were always thought about beautification. If you look at some of the tribes in Africa, if you go like to Sudan, they have certain markings that they have, the scam markings. If you look at the Maasai, so it's not something that is new. If you look at, for example, within the Renaissance and the Middle Age, there was a lot of beautification. There's beautification being talked about in the Bible. We'll also discuss that. With the advent of the Industrial Revolution, the perfumes, the wigs, the different lotions that we are doing, all that is part of beautification. And for now, with the advent of the social media, we see a lot of content about beautification. And this has raised a lot of medical issues, medical, ethical, and spiritual questions. And we are here today to be able to dwell into that and take deep dives into that. So, the history of plastic surgery. So there was a plastic surgeon who was called Tagliacozzi. And for him, he said, we restore, we rebuild, we make whole parts that nature has given us, but fortune has taken away. So much may not delight the eye, but that it may buoy the spirit and help the mind of the afflicted. He was in a time when there were lots of wars. So some people had either their nose cut off, either using knives, or some people had bomb blasts, or some people were shot. So during that time, he said for plastic surgery then, they tried to rebuild, basically try to restore something. If let's say your nose had been removed, they could reconstruct your nose, but so that you feel happy, there's some delight for the eye, because still it's something personal, how you feel. Some people, when you have a defect, you feel different. You don't feel your natural self. So it's important that we view plastic surgery in a way that it restores, rebuilds, and makes whole. So in most times when we are thinking about plastic surgery, most people think about, I'm going to change myself, I'm going to look different, I'm changing my appearances, I'm changing God's image, okay? But there are different parts of plastic surgery. We have reconstructive surgery, and we have the cosmetic procedures. Most of us know when we think about plastic surgery, we are basically thinking about the cosmetics part. But there are other elements of plastic surgery. We do hand surgeries. There are some people who are... Thank you so much. So during my elementary training, I was at KOSU. So there was a patient he was operating a machine, and then all the 4 fingers were cut. Okay? He was lucky that the boss they knew that you could put these fingers on ice and transport them to Kampala, and they could be fixed. I have a photo somewhere. So we are able to restore all the 4 fingers of this patient. But if somebody didn't know that that's something that plastic surgeons can be, this person will have no hands. There are instances where somebody's hand has been chopped off and the police keeps it as exhibit. Okay? So you're losing all this time instead of trying to do reimplantation. For some people, either man and quarrels with his wife and something is chopped off and they keep it as exhibit. But it can be restored if you come to the hospital with your body part. There are some people whose ears have been cut off. You're in an argument, somebody bites your ear and throws it there, okay? But if this part is kept on ice, you can actually bring it and it can be restored. There are people's noses who have been bit off in a quarrel. But these are parts that something can be done about it. But most people don't know. There are some people who are born with disorders. For example, you've heard about cleft lip. People are born with cleft lip palate, cleft lip lips, okay? So these are defects that can be restored. And there are so many other congenital defects. Some people are born with 6 fingers. Some people are born with their fingers fused. There are lots of different birth defects. And sometimes you're like, that's how we are created. But no, something can be done about it. There are certain, you've seen people have been either involved in fire, in burns. There are burn cases. Somebody has been burnt, and there's treatment. There's something that we can do. For people who have cancers. So I currently work with the Cancer Institute as a plastic surgeon to do reconstruction. But before, let's say a lady, you come in and you have a breast cancer, okay? A breast tumor. It could be benign or it could be cancerous. For benign tumors, we can be able to still maintain your femininity by reconstructing your breast. But previously, you'd come in and somebody would look at, you have cancer, and they just remove the whole breast. But yet it wasn't necessary. We could have done a breast conserving surgery. But because people look at all these problems and they think that the only way to solve the cancer is by removing the whole entire body parts. But no, with reconstruction, we can be able to restore, rebuild, and restore the function of that body part. So plastic surgery has a lot of different facets. And lately, there's a common bit which is the cosmetic surgery, okay? So cosmetics, there is surgical and non-surgical. When we go into surgical, we can talk about breast surgeries, okay? These breast surgeries can be breast reduction or breast enlargement. And somebody will ask me, why would somebody reduce their breasts? Okay? So imagine for guys who go to the gym, you're carrying, let's say you're doing dumbbells and you're doing 5 kilograms and 10 kilograms. It's heavy, but you're not doing it every day. So imagine a lady who has to carry very big breasts that are almost touching her waist. Her bra is very painful, finds it very difficult to, find a bra. Every time she's walking, she feels literally like her shoulders are caving in under the weight of her breasts. And that's nature. That's what nature has given her. But it's so much that it becomes, somebody talked about work and toil. So it becomes toil to carry what she has to carry. And that's what her life is. Or imagine a child who has a lip deformity or a face deformity. They did not choose. So you can't say that's your natural image. No, they did not choose. It happened to them. But there's something that can be done about it. For women, when you're still youthful, everybody looks at you, they admire the youth you, okay? When you're a mother of 7 or a mother of 8, your body changes, which is natural. You're doing something that is natural. You're giving birth because that's what some of the things that we are designed to do, our bodies were designed to do. But it shouldn't change who you are. Then if we all wanted to remain in our image, we'll definitely be in our youthful image forever. We'll be, they always say, forever young. But time changes. As you age, your face changes, okay? For people who are, men, initially you have all the hair, you can have an afro. Yeah, you have the luxury of that. But over time, for some of us, we come from 3 generations of people who become bald, they lose their hair. And that's what it is. But in my youthful years, I maintain a lot of hair, I have an afro. But as I age time, there are certain things that happen to my body, okay? There are people who, for some, you gain weight, okay? So there are some people where weight is so much a problem to them. Like somebody is about 150 kilograms. They can't move, they can't run, they have sleeping disorders, they get diabetes, and they just don't know how to control their weight, okay? These are real life problems. You have somebody who has been involved in an accident. Recently, I had a patient who was involved in an accident, and part of her face was literally, they call it a degloving wound. And she works in a bank. She's a bank teller. Sometimes we are stereotyped. So imagine how many bank tellers, how many times have you been to the bank and see the bank teller with a scar on their face? Are there any? She'll probably be put in a back office, but that's not fair. Okay? She didn't choose when she had the accident. She didn't choose the location of her injury. But yeah, it's right in the face. I know some of you, when you're going to take a border, you first look at the border guy's face. Yeah? You're like, does he have any scars? How is he walking? Has he had an accident? Yeah? Does he have a kataimba somewhere? So even when you go for interviews, somebody will look at you suspiciously, and you're like, can I trust this person? They don't even know you. They haven't even heard you speak. By just walking in, they're already judging who you are. And you have no choice about that. But they're using their vision. They're looking at your body image and judging you for who you are. Okay? They don't even have a chance to listen to you. So somebody would ask me, why do people do cosmetic procedures? And there are very many reasons. One of them is self-esteem. Okay? I recently did a tummy tuck on a patient. She's this well-educated, has a good job. But in that job, she didn't want any promotion. And the reason why she didn't want any promotion, because all eyes would be on her. And she didn't feel enough of herself. Even if you look at her company photos, she's the one at the back. So nobody ever sees her, okay? Interestingly, after her procedures, now if you look at the company photos, she's at the front. If you look at any opportunities, she's there, okay? Also recently, I had a discussion with, there's a husband and his wife. The wife is struggling with her body weight, okay? They're trying to have kids, but because of the body weight, sometimes there are hormonal imbalances, okay? So because of the body weight, she feels, first of all, they are struggling fertility-wise. 2, because of the body weight, she feels she can't give herself to her husband. And she tends to draw away because of her body weight. The husband in the room initially was very dismissive, was like, I love you the way you are, okay? That's what he said. And also, like, you look at me, because he was also a bit different. He was a bit overweight. When I go out, the wife is not worried because she knows he won't do anything funny because of the way he looks. And they seem to be comfortable with that. But when you dig deeper, they actually both started to cry. So he has a husband who was very dismissive. Who was very dismissive of how the wife felt about herself. So initially when we entered the consultation room, the wife was seated next to me and the husband was back there. So we invited him to come and sit side by side. But to me, it dug deeper into how she felt and how both of them felt about their bodies and how that was affecting their relationship. The other reason why people do cosmetic surgery is basically to improve societal standards of beauty. Beauty, depending on the kind of society you are, beauty, they always say beauty lies in the eyes of the beholder. Okay? And we'll dwell into the inner beauty and outer beauty, but society has certain norms. Society looks at us in a different lens, and there are certain expectations. Obviously, growing up in this kind of generation where we are having a lot of... okay. Sorry, I have 8 minutes. So where we're going up in a society where there's a lot of standards and expectations, and that causes us to go into taking cosmetic procedures. There's also the correction of perceived flaws in our bodies. For some of us who lived in the quinine injection era, you have a buttock that has quinine injections and somehow deformed. So there are those flaws that we have. For some of us who are naturally born with good noses, wide noses, and we're not comfortable with, some people want to be able to change that. And of course, the effect of societal pressure. Sometimes plastic surgery boosts your confidence, but all in all, this could be short-lived, as we shall later see. As people always desire to have a more and more perfection, more and more endless pursuit of perfection. There's also a risk of body dysmorphia. Body dysmorphia is more of a mental illness where people, however much you do, you still see your body in a certain kind of way. It's like it's never enough. So it's very easy to be addicted to the procedures that we do. But obviously, as anything, there's the good and the bad side of it. So there are certain health risks, which could be infections. There are some people have had surgical complications from plastic surgery. Everything is not necessarily nice and rosy, depending on where you go. And obviously, these things are not cheap. It is expensive. And also for some people, you may be addicted to these kind of surgeries. It's important to understand what the Bible says. We talked about all of us being made in God's image, okay? That's in Genesis chapter 1, verses 27. When you got Samuel 1, verse 16 to 7, it talks about God looks at the heart and not outward appearance. And then when you're reading Peter, it's about inner beauty more than outward endowment. But it's nice to find sort of like a balance, okay? So we have, our bodies are God's temple. But it's important to know what the motive behind what you're doing. Is it to glorify yourself? Is it to glorify God? And it's important for you to find that balance, where you're striking a balance between what is godly and glorifying God and glorifying yourself. And the Bible has always talked about beauty. I'm sure all of you are conversant with the story of Esther. So Esther had both the inner beauty, and God actually prepared her for a year in order to have her outer beauty. She had a special diet, she had special oils, because she had a certain special purpose for God. You know about Jezebel. So Jezebel was more of the external endowment versus ungodly heart. And Jesus was a humble person, and yet he had divine mission. So you shouldn't be afraid to have both the inner and your outer beauty, because it's biblical. However, it's important for you to know when to stop. Don't let it get the better of you. You need to do things in moderation with wisdom, and prayer is key. So it's important for you to reflect whether am I doing this surgery for my healing, or am I doing it for vanity? Am I doing it to glorify God? Am I doing it only for myself? Am I doing it, is my self-worth, you need to have your self-worth grounded in God. So once you know who you are, so it doesn't matter what somebody else says, it's about who you are, and then that can flow on your outside. So you should not be able to say, oh, God only looks at the heart. But also, the society we live in, we are judged by our outward appearance. So it's important for you to be able to take that into consideration. So I would say plastic surgery, in conclusion, is both a science and an art, and it gives us the possibilities, but it's also important to look at what the risks are. The Bible always calls for wisdom, modesty, and inner beauty. And true transformation begins with the heart. So I'd want to share just a few befores and after. So the first patient is more, she had given birth, a mother of 4, and she was worried about her clothes wouldn't fit, and she wanted a transformation change. The second picture is about a guy who has been to the gym very diligently, Monday to Sunday, but he didn't have 6 packs. So he wanted to have 6 packs, and he was also worried about his breasts. Then the last picture was about a lady who, she was a mother of twins. She wasn't pregnant then, by the way. She had given birth, but her stomach was still big. They would always ask her when are you giving birth, when are you due? Yeah, and now after her picture, you can see the real transformation, and they're all more confident about themselves. Thank you very much.
Another round of applause to our guest panelists. So thank you very much. Thank you very much, Dr. Lubega, for that insight and being able to give us the medical insight into plastic surgery and also reflecting on beauty with relation to our theme for the day. Now we're going into a session that I'd like to open it up and have some insights from our panelists. And this very first one will go to you, Dr. Dixon Kanakulia. Trying to find out from your end, okay? You are an ethics professor. Help us give an ethical framework to these kinds of conversations. As we talk about beauty, as we talk about beautification and all the dynamics with that, what are the ethical parameters that you can give to be able to guide these kind of conversations as we go forward? Thank you.
Thank you, MC and all the people who are here. When I was coming, I was having a conversation in my own head. Then maybe I can ask you, can you ask your neighbor, did you do plastic surgery? Ask your neighbor, did you do plastic surgery? Don't touch their cheek, please. because it has become commonplace now. It is almost everywhere. Now, the challenge we have when it comes to ethics, let me focus on that. Because we change the standard, it goes into understand the concept of beauty, first of all. As the main speaker said, they say beauty is in the eyes of the what? That statement was coined by a philosopher known as Aristotle. Because beauty is not something you can touch. It is an abstract concept. Therefore, you can't say this one is beautiful, this one is ugly. Those pictures the doctor has shown you, to some people, the other big stomach is beauty. To others, it is not beauty. So we have a challenge there. If we talk about ethics, we enter into another challenge of relativism, or what they call relativism in ethics, meaning that ethical standards change from one person to the other, which is a challenge. The chaplain told us at the beginning, maybe some of you didn't get what he was saying. He was a student in Korea, South Korea. And one of the challenges they have there is that almost every person there has undergone plastic what? Surgery. To change their eyes, so that the eyes are wider. But here, we abuse people for having big eyes, isn't it? I remember when we were young in schools, one of the abuses we used to give our enemies, isn't it? Even the eyes are not so big, say, look at your eyes. But for them, they want the larger eyes which Africans have. A few years ago, like up to around the 60s, there 70s, the standard of beauty was a woman, was from the West, the magazine those days. A woman had a slender body and a flat bottom. Let me use that word. I didn't want to use the word boobs or what? Very ugly words, isn't it? Buttocks or whatever. But now, the African bottom is becoming the standard now. Western women are going for plastic surgery to increase their bottom and make their lips thicker. So the question, when it comes to ethics, we have a challenge here. Because the standards of beauty keep changing from generation to generation, then where should we focus our ethics? What is ethical to do, what is unethical to do? You notice now it has gone into another area, which is now we are going into genetic modification now. It is deeper than even plastic surgery now. People do what they call shopping children. Now, if you have a child, you go and require the medical people know it. They choose the trace, isn't it? I want a child who was tall, has Karamojong height, has a thick bottom like an acholi, whatever it is. Then you put it in the system and they tailor-make a child for you. So we are going into the area of genetic editing. When I was coming, I invited one of my students I'm supervising, is working on transhumanism. I don't know whether Emmanuel is he around. Maybe he didn't make it. He's a master's student working on transhumanism. So we are going into another domain now where we are changing a human being to become a superhuman. Let me use that word. Which genetics is a very powerful technology now, genetic editing and all the things that are going on, which are causing very serious ethical questions. And especially here in Africa and Uganda, we have to prepare ourselves. As these things are going on, how far is far enough? The basic tenet which the chaplain hinted on is that human beings are dissatisfied with themselves. There is no single human being who said that every part of their body, they are happy with it. Everyone would want to change something. You want to have longer hair. Another one wants to have shorter hair. You want to have longer legs. Another one wants to have shorter legs. The other one wants to have a bigger bottom. Another one wants a smaller bottom. The other one wants to have a fat tummy. Those who have one pack like us. Others want to have 6-pack. So the truth is that human beings are suffering from a spiritual problem. It is not a physical issue. Remember where the chaplain started from. He told us that Paul entered a place called the Areopagus, which we are in now. It was a place for discussing trends, ideas, thoughts, philosophies. And he noticed something. They put an idol there, or a signpost, just saying, to an unknown God. When people don't know their God, when people don't know who they are looking for something that gives them worth, which is from outside. All that you have is within you. To succeed is within you. All that you have to live life is within you. But the challenge is that we think that when we add maybe a better body shape, it will open more doors for us. The truth is that I am happy that the main speaker hinted that, because when I was doing my research, I came across there's a mental issue. These people who are working in plastic surgery are recognized that people, when they start changing their body shape, they never stop. They come back for more and more and more and more until the body becomes instead deformed. Some of you have seen the pictures, isn't it? Someone went to change their jaw, and then the jaw became like a donkey's. And many things have happened to those very rich people because they keep adjusting. They never get, when you notice, it is not actually a physical issue. It is something inner. It is inside. That is where ethics comes in. Ethics deal with our inner self, what we think we are, how we act comes from within us. As one of the, I think the lecturer of visual arts mentioned, that the beauty is fleeting, but she said a what? A clean heart, something like that. She was quoting a verse in Proverbs, I think. A modest heart, a heart that is nice, is lasting. Beauty that is outside here changes. But the way you behave gives you self-worth that goes beyond your physical appearance. The way you behave inside you, it comes from inside you. It is something of yourself, the soul within you. And that's what the challenge is. The challenge is that the more you change the outside appearance, you should also match it with changing your inner what? Disposition, how you behave. And that's why the challenge, that's why ethics comes in with beauty. And we notice there are other ethical issues in that industry, which I'm not going to go into because of time. The way they do this plastic surgery, what really is involved. I don't know if some of you heard recently, there was a story which was in news in South Africa. They caught a hospital worker who was carrying a bag of women placentas. Some of you heard the story? The person was arrested. When women give birth, some people, the cleaners were collecting the placentas of the women, and she was smuggling them out to go and sell them. Then I started investigating, what is going on? I discovered that they are making beauty products out of placentas. This industry is an industry which is very ethically questionable. And I want to put that before the doctor here. There are so many things that are being done which have very serious question marks. People disappear, young children disappear in hospital. Since Dr. Sabrina is here, people steal babies, isn't it? And disappear with them. In some countries, it is too much. Babies disappear. And the rumor we have is that they use those babies' body parts to make beauty products. Some of them to sell as organs to other sick people, or those who have body issues. And I think, what is that called? They get from the bone marrow. What is it called? I've forgotten. What the big from the young babies from the bone marrow? Stem cells. So the ethical question about this industry of beautification, they are very serious questions. And the challenge we have in Uganda, we don't have regulations or laws to guide what is happening. There are some people, traditionalists, who are promising you to enlarge your manhood. That is also plastic surgery. So they tell you, take this thing, your manhood will be larger. So what do? Instead, they put mix our local herbs and put Viagra there. So I was talking to one friend of mine, told me the mother let me not mention the place, people may assume that they know. The mother, his son went and got that thing from a herbalist. They promised him that your manhood will be enlarged. It is not the surgeon in the hospital like what you have seen here, but they are also doing, that is a form of plastic what? Surgery. And I think 90% of products that are sold in Kampala right now that are dealing with herbal medicine, they must add manhood. I don't know why they don't add womanhood. They always add manhood. So many men are feeling inferior about their manhood. But the question is it really the manhood or it is a mental issue, a spiritual issue? And these things are not being regulated. Those are the ethical questions that we don't have answers to. So for now, I was just trying to paint a picture of the ethical landscape, that this area is new, a lot of new. Many people are not aware, even the regulators, the law framers, they don't know. And there are a lot of ethical questions that are still gray. And as we get involved, if they promise you that you are going to change your breast, they will be like this. If something went wrong, the classification, the letter you have, or the things you sign are normal medical procedures, which is the normal surgery to improve your health. But now we are going into the beautification surgery. Some people are operating their eyes to make them blue. They add funny things in the eyes. These things are going on around us. So, moderator, that's the ethical landscape we are in. Much of what is being done is not well regulated. And that is a challenge we have. Thank you.
Thank you very much. A round of applause to Dr. Dixon. Thank you so much for giving us that framework of thought. I'd like to give an opportunity to our second panelist, Paul. As a computer science student at Uganda Christian University, who is probably in touch with fellow students on an everyday basis, what are your thoughts or comments with regards to beautification and body image in light of the conversations that we're having today?
Sorry, I think my first thought And actually, I do agree with Dr. Dixon. Is that it's a spiritual problem. It's a heart issue. When you look at what people are trying to get out of this, they're just trying to be accepted. If you're in an environment where people have a smaller nose, you're going to want a smaller nose. You're going to want so that they can accept you. If you're in an environment where people are light-skinned, you're going to want to bleach so that people accept you. So that's one lens. The other lens is that people want to be loved, okay? And we see it in the whole generation of, people are just really trying to modify themselves every single day so that people can love them, and so that is also an issue. But people are also just looking to be special. I mean, if I have 6 packs, then that gives me a sense of significance. And when you look at that, what you are dealing with there are heart issues. They are issues of one's desires not being met. Okay? And the problem comes when we try and find our desires in other things. When we choose to say that I'm going to use beautification to be able to feel safe, to be able to feel significant, to be able to feel loved and special, then that means what you are doing is that you're worshiping the idol of beauty. And what then happens is that beautification becomes worship offered unto the idol of beauty. And once you do that, Tim Keller says you're worshiping the goddess Athena. Okay, for those that are familiar with the Greek mythology. And so the whole idea is really not about should we not, sometimes some things, some cases really it's recommended, as our keynote speaker mentioned earlier, that sometimes it's maybe your palate is collapsed and you're not able to speak properly, or your nose cavity is collapsed and you cannot breathe properly. That is acceptable. But if you're looking at trying to feel the desires that you have in your heart by trying to look better, by trying to change your body image, you are entering a different space. And I think those are my thoughts. As someone who is outside observing, as someone who has been a young person and who has watched pop television, entertainment, and all that kind of stuff, and has been in a position where I feel like I'm not enough, I would say that the issue is really a heart issue. For a young person, it's really just a heart issue. And the earlier that we begin to find our value in Christ, I think the better for us, because if we do that, then we are saving ourselves the burden that Dr. Feta talked about. He said, we have that burden. Once you go down that route, the burden will take you. I think one thing that is important to note is that some of these things, you say, for example, there is a surgery that is used to take out fat. I think it's called liposuction. Yes, the pronunciation. But yes, so ideally, some of these things, they really, you're going to get a lot of scar tissue from all of that. But also, there are some procedures where people inject Botox into their skin, and you're not going to do that once. You'll do it once, but then you'll have to do it again. Some guys do it after 18 months. And so just imagine your life in such a cycle, just trying to be more. And yet, in Christ, there is everything. We have no place in chasing beauty if the standard of beauty is not one that God has set. And so for a young person out there, how I see the entire topic, it's just vanity.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Let's give a round of applause to Paul for raising very, very interesting questions to that effect. Dr. Sabrina, given your experience in the hospital setting and working with young people, and of course with being a pediatrician, what are your thoughts, generally speaking, to the topic that we have at hand?
Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. This is a great topic, and I'd like to thank Miriam and Liz for inviting me to be part of this conversation. I've listened in, and I'm really, really inspired, especially by Dr. Luwega, who dares to sit here and say, yes, you can go for plastic surgery. I'll start by saying, about maybe a year and a half ago, I was peer pressured into going to remove my skin tags because, as like many people, I watched TikTok and I went down a rabbit hole, go to Derma Clinic, my gosh, they can do laser surgery and your, skin tags can fall off. And we know that having a picture-perfect face is what everybody desires. We've been inspired by women in Korea, we've been inspired by ladies from Rwanda who have a picture-perfect face. You don't need a filter to take a picture-perfect face. And so I booked in, went for the laser surgery. And my students, my former students, I'm a lecturer, senior lecturer at Makerere. I've taught many people, including His Excellency, William. And so they were all panicking. Oh my God, our teacher, she's come for laser surgery. My gosh, Lord. And they numbed my face. I got lasered. And when I got out of that bed, I looked at myself in the mirror and my entire face had scars. I was like, what is this? I was documenting and journaling with my children who are on Snapchat with me. And they were saying, Mommy, are you sure? Have you told Daddy what you're going to do? Meanwhile, I had told my husband, honey, after me, you're next, because he also has skin tags. Africans, we have skin tags, right? So I go home, and my entire face is flared up with so many scars. And so I just wanted to talk about the beauty side effect boom. The treatment after the treatment. It took me an entire year of buying vitamin C serum. I don't know, sun protective factor 30, 50, 80, a lot of makeup on my face. Oh my goodness, wow. So I have experienced the treatment after the treatment. And I know for sure that people don't go for cosmetic surgery just because they want to be picture perfect. But there's a lot of pressure on mass media. There's a lot of pressure to look good, to be perfect. And we do know that, who has not used a filter? If you've not, raise your hand. As you take a picture, who has not? Be honest. And we are always we look at this picture perfect person who posts their picture on Instagram, especially the young people, and they are like 1,000 likes in 10 minutes. And then another person posts their natural picture, God-given, thank God, and everyone is like, what's wrong with this person? Like, why are you posting? So it really goes to affect people's mental health, for sure. Okay? And, everyone has a challenge mentally. And like you said, yes, spiritually, we are all spiritual human beings. If you have a brain on your head, you must have a pineal gland. A pineal gland is in your brain and it controls your emotion. We release cortisol, we release happy hormones, sad hormones. We are human beings. But we have been, I don't want to use the word, but we've been exposed to the standard of beauty. The standard of beauty that is pale, like the Eastern Asians, the Chinese, who are also making themselves more pale because it is what seems to be what is correct, right? And no wonder the beauty and cosmetic industry is growing. But it is the treatment after the treatment for me which I worry about. People have gone on to use things like Botox, and there's something called a Botox face. that your eyebrows rise like this, and then you have to go back and get more treatment to remove that Botox face. People have injected themselves with things to slim down, including the most recent one. What injection is this? Ozempic. And there's an Ozempic face. The Ozempic face looks like the patients that we usually see who we've put on antiretroviral therapy, who have lipodystrophy and lipoatrophy, and then they now have to go and get more treatment for the Ozempic face. So yes, I respect plastic surgeons, I celebrate them, but we need to be cautious. And we need to believe that you need to be comfortable in your skin. Obviously, for me, as a mother of 5, I feel like I work really, really hard to maintain my size 12, right? Because I don't want to be buying bigger clothes and bigger clothes and bigger clothes. I don't have that kind of money. So the more I remain size 12, the more I stay with my clothes for many years. But then I'm also pressured to be a certain look. I have put myself out there as being beautiful and brainy. And so I have to keep looking beautiful. So I do my sit-ups, I do my squats, I make sure I hydrate, I make sure I sleep well. So there's more beyond just looking beautiful. You have to be beautiful, yes, brainy, but also healthy. Because for sure, no one is going to look at you. You're a doctor, you're treating young people, and you're telling them exercise, look healthy, look fit, and then your abdomen is as big as an elephant, yeah? No one is going to understand what you are saying. So you must practice what you preach, right? And all of us in this room should be comfortable by being healthy. There's no problem with looking beautiful. And I want to disagree with people who think being beautiful is a sin. Adoring beauty is a sin. We all want to look good and look beautiful. Imagine if the person who was being voted to be the next guild president was some drab, looking, ugly, not caring person. Would you vote them? Be honest. If you're dating and these young people are in the process of dating, you're near this person who smells like a he-goat, or a lady who smells like a dump yard. Like, come on, guys, be realistic. This is the reality of today. This is the 21st century. And yes, beauty comes with gratification. If you look bad, you will not feel good. So you look good, feel good, and express yourself positively. If our MC was here talking about beauty, and all of us were like, but he's not that handsome. What is he saying? Or our colleagues who invited us, let us practice what we preach, but obviously within the limits. Last of all, I wanted to share with you a story about my shoe. For those of you who are close, you can see that the shoe has what? Some injury, the right one, right? Yeah. And then the other one is, has a perfect heel. So I'll tell you a story about these shoes. Last year on our fall vacation, we usually take vacation with my husband, I bought these shoes. and for me, they meant a lot to me, And, they are golden, they have a gold heel, they are perfect. And I was wearing them every time because they are comfortable as I wear them. But 2 months ago, as I was stepping out of the car, my people were helping to remove stuff. One of the shoes fell under the car. And we have a little hairy dog who's really naughty. He's called Mickey. Mickey picked the shoe and ate the back of the heel and really deframed it, yeah? In my heart, I was so angry. But I'm like, who are you angry with? Are you angry with the person who removed the shoes and one fell? Are you angry with the dog? Or are you angry that you've lost your favorite shoe? So I asked our helper to take the shoes down to the place where they are local, local cobblers. And the local cobbler was like, I'm not touching that shoe. I can't manage. So I drove to Garden City to a place called Winner Classic. They pride themselves in creating a revised shoe of any nature. Because shoes tell a story. I've told you I got this shoe in a very special place with a special person, my shoe, my golden shoe. And so we had a conversation with a cobbler, and he said, I'm going to redo your shoe. But I'm going to change the shoes to look like the new one that I'm doing. And for me, this conversation that we are having today is like the shoe. We all have a story. We all have scars. And every scar on your face should not shame you, but should make you feel like, this is me. We are shaped by the scars we have. Whether they are scars from an accident, scars from a Botox injection, or scars from surgery for liposuction. Hello? Some people have died on table doing liposuction, but others have survived. I have a friend, sorry to say this, who was going through a very bad divorce. And to make herself feel better, she said, I am going to go for my first plastic surgery. She went and did a tummy tuck, and she looked like $1 million. Remember, this woman is 65. Before we knew what was going on, she was dating someone else, and now she's happily married. So, can we all say amen? That you can be given a second chance, and you don't always have to feel bad about the way you look. Today we have, and God gives people talent. Dr. Lubega's talent is to refashion and reshape people who don't feel comfortable in their skin. But you have to have the money. Don't think you're going to walk into his clinic and say, I want a tummy tuck. It doesn't cost 1,000 shillings. It costs money. So I pray to God that all of us will have, one, the wisdom, a spirit of discernment, but also money to do what we want to do with our bodies. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Friends, another round of applause to Dr. Sabrina. I like the fact that you highlight that there is a growing market, and other panelists have, with regards to the beauty surgery treatment boom. You know, it's the thing. Go to TikTok, go to all these social media platforms. It is something that you'll find, and that also comes in with this whole social media, cyber, bullying or whatever that comes when you post certain things. And so how do we present ourselves in light of that? What is the value framework that we have to help us navigate those kinds of dynamics? I'll be coming back to you just in a second. But now, let's hear from Hannah. Again, as a student at Uganda Christian University, that could be in environments that is in an environment where there's students that could be battling some of these kinds of things, my nose, I want to, my ears, my body shape and things like that. What is your response to those kinds of students that could be battling with those kinds of things as you add on to these conversations?
Thank you for this opportunity. As a student, I would like to start with a verse. As someone who actually, I really love the Lord's view of us, and I would love to point us to 1 Timothy chapter 6, verse 6, which says, godliness with contentment is gain. One thing I've had to learn as someone who is quite small, I was in a school where we are all girls, and you see everyone. Some girls are big, they have assets and all that. And honestly, it was hard. And crazy enough, I was not like that in O-level, but it was in A-level when I changed schools. And I don't know, maybe it was the type of school I went to, but it would be like, they point out your insecurity, and you're like, oh my God. So for the first term, I was actually very insecure about my body. I was very, very insecure. And I think it really took me getting closer to God to actually become content with my body. Right now I can say, much as not everyone may agree, but according to me, I have the most perfect body. I don't wish to have anyone else's body. I feel perfect the way I am. And also, at some point, I realized I was leaning towards an eating disorder, because there was one holiday where I ate a lot, I was comfortable, and my family is very healthy, very, very healthy. Don't eat this, eat that. Of course, they don't force us, but we are strict on the things we let into our bodies, and we have to actually work at keeping our bodies healthy, because my parents, they let themselves go for the first years, and then they realized, oh, we actually have to take care of our bodies. This is not how we want to raise our children. So yeah, and I almost got anorexia, I think, because I really hated food for the most part. I would feel disgusted by the sight of food, by the smell of food. I would feel like I do not want to eat. One plate of food, actually half a plate of food every day is enough for me. But I am so happy I found contentment in God, and I've realized that in the environment that I am, there are so many people struggling with body dysmorphia. I have a friend who is smaller than me, and she keeps talking about how big she is, how she wants to reduce her stomach. And I keep trying to tell her, that is not something for you. You're perfect. You're actually she is so pretty. She has a very good body. And I keep trying to remind her of that every time. One day, hopefully, it will help. But what I would also like to bring out is how social media really has impacted the youth of today. And actually, not only youth, older women and men, yes. We go on social media, TikTok, some of us can be doom scrolling, bed rotting, and we see different kinds of bodies of women or men, and we are like, oh, I wish I had that body. Her skin color is so good, I wish I was like that. Personally, I would love to have a darker skin color. I don't know why, but it seems nice. I've seen myself in the darkness and I felt pretty. Though I'm pretty right now. But yeah, you scroll through TikTok, you scroll through Instagram, hour after hour. You can spend half of your day scrolling through social media, and you realize there's some assets that you do not have that other people have. And you're like, I would really love that. And I've realized that that is the main cause of body dysmorphia, which basically is, as Dr. Lubega explained, it's where you view yourself as, you put your insecurities take over your mind, and they obscure the way you see yourself, and yet in reality that's not how you look. So I've realized social media is a very dangerous place to be, very, very dangerous place to be if you're not in the right mind, if you have not yet reached that point of contentment. And I think I would love to talk about also plastic surgery. I think it is a good thing, but where does it become too much? How far is far? So even before you start, the two major ones that I found, even before you start, it becomes too far when it's the wrong intent. And we have realized, I don't know if you know Brazilian butt lifts. They are crazy, honestly. And according to me, the purpose that I have realized, when you get such plastic surgery, and in your mind you're like, I want to be more sexy, I want to, deep down in your heart, you want that Brazilian butt lift because of, I want to attract these people, I want to look more sexy and all that. You have to look at, is it glorifying God? And sometimes, by the way, we do not realize the reason we do such stuff. Even makeup, even skincare, you do not realize until you look deep into your heart. As a Christian, where are you getting the basis for what you're doing? And another place where it is too far, even before you start, is your insecurity. When it's a very normal thing, when you're not having any issues, because I do know sometimes rhinoplasty, where they operate your nose, they do surgery on your nose to put it into the shape you want or stuff like that. Some people may actually have a worse form of sinuses that they actually need to get treated. But where for you, you're like, my nose doesn't seem so fine. I really want to change the way it looks. I want it to look like this person. I want it to look like that person. When it comes from a point of insecurity, even before you start, it is far. You've gone far enough. One should learn how to love their bodies. And that is one thing I would really love people to do. Personally, it has taken me, I think 6 years. And it was just actually this year when I learned to really love my face. I don't think there's anyone who can tell me you're not beautiful, and I believe. I really don't think. In my head, I'm very, very beautiful. Despite the scars, despite the acne. I've struggled with acne for years, and I go to Dama Skin Clinic. I really don't have anything to do because I believe my skin is not supposed to be like this. And I've had acne for so many years. You get painful pimples on your face, and it is really not nice. I don't think that's how God designed my body. And that's why I do what I do. However, if I had a perfect skin, even a bit of rashes somehow, I don't think I would take myself through the whole process of skincare. It's really not a fun thing. It's not, we see influencers, oh, this is my skincare routine, they put all that and that, but it's really not a fun thing. I would love my skin to be perfect, and I believe God has directed where I should actually get that, and I do believe it's His conviction because I still suffer with acne. I've been suffering with it up until today, and this whole week I've been like, oh my God, I want my skin to be okay for this event, what. But regardless, I'm proud of the way God created me, and I do believe skincare is good to an extent, yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much, Hannah, for those insights. And now, friends, you have heard from our panelists, you have heard from our UCU students who are sharing with you their students' perspectives. You've heard from our plastic surgeon. You have heard from Dr. Sabrina, who is working, of course, with pediatric care and young people as well, and also Dr. Dixon Kanakulia. And so I would like to open these conversations to us for a few questions that you might be having in the audience. I would kindly request that you at least ask one question, keep it very specific, and if possible, address it to a specific person that you'd like to respond. I will kindly request our ushers to move around, or some members of the DRPI team to move around with a microphone, so that we can be able to take your question as we go ahead. And if you're not able to have your question, to ask the question, you can write it down, and then we'll be happy to read it out, and we will respond to that. So if you have your question, kindly put up your hand. Yes, we have, okay, let's take maybe 3. We have 1, we have 2, the third one? Oh, yes, 3. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Yes.
Good afternoon. My question goes to our doctor. I didn't clearly get the name. The plastic surgeon. I don't know. The surgeon. Dr. Lubega. Yes, sorry. My question goes to you, and my concern is that you talked about people who go for surgeries because maybe their boobs are bigger than, like they cannot support the weight. And I have read about it, and it's due to hormonal imbalance. So when that person goes for surgery, what exactly is done? Because, okay, what I want to know, is it the hormones that are curbed, or is it just the weight that is reduced? Because if it's just the weight, that means the situation is prone to happen again.
Okay, thank you. When you kindly introduce yourself, if you're a student, your course, and the year that you're in, your name, course, and the year. Do you want to would be happy to.
My name is Nicole Namuli, and I am doing computer science, year 1, SEM 1.
Hello. My name is David. Computer science, year one. Year one, same one. To Dr. Lubega, I want to ask, you talked about body parts, say my hand has been cut off. What's the period of time that it can be in eyes? Because they say, of course, body parts, if they're not having the right blood supply, the number up and you cannot resuscitate them. So what's that period of time that is needed before we get to the hospital? Then I think I have a suggestion for Miss Hannah. I think it's Hannah, yes? Yes, I have a suggestion for you, but I think we shall have a discussion after.
Do you want to take all the three at the same time?
Thank you so much. I'm called Gloria Msanase from the School of Social Sciences, but I also do support in DOSA's office. This is a concern. There is a lot of peer pressure and the power of TikTok. And then I was telling Professor Elizabeth that I also want to go for surgery, the eyebrows. All my friends have done it. And they are here, they tell you, by the Gloria, yours are scattered. You just tell she's like, and she's looking good. She's my workmate. She's like, you know what, let's go. It's not painful. And honestly, I was convinced. But somehow, you know, us ladies who do girl, that car machine, there's a way it's discomforting. So I just connect, I'm like, but is it real? Like that car machine, my body. So it's a mix of feelings. I am ready to do it because my friends have done it and they are looking good and they are Christians. But again, the other side, like, but am I doing the right thing? So how do we handle both things together?
Okay, we will take another round of questions. Let's have our panelists respond to this. But I would like you, Dr. Sabrina, to respond to that, because I know you have a very active social media life. And so I'm just curious how you keep a balance of that in light of maintaining your ethical balance or your moral balance in light of that. And then Dr. Lubega, and then there was no question for Hannah. Yes.
Sorry, she wants me to answer first. So somebody asked about the reimplantation of body parts. So it depends on the kind of body parts. If they are fingers, you can actually preserve them for about 96 hours, which are about 3 days and a half. If it's an arm or a leg, you have about 6 to 8 hours before, as long as it's a clean cut, it can be reimplanted. Then Nicole asked about what exactly do we do when we are doing breast reduction. We actually reduce the breast tissue, so that means we cut into the breast tissue, and that also affects for people who want to be able to breastfeed, there's reduced breast milk because we are reducing on the amount of breast glandular tissue. So for some people, yes, some people even it's not just hormonal enlargement, it's not just hormonal imbalance. For some people, they just have, their breasts are just big. Yeah. That's right. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Just talking about hormones, as you grow older, there's something called menopause, and for men, there's andropause. And as men's testosterone reduces, it's just natural that you're going to get a 1-pack instead of a 6-pack. And you know, the people who used to admire you as, 6-pack, handsome, cool, broad shoulders, the shoulders start sagging, and it doesn't make you feel comfortable. You're not fitting in your suit, all that. And exercise is not helping. And I think those are the people who may be pushed to do surgery. And also for women, as we age, as we grow, beyond 50 plus, as the estrogen and the progesterone lowers, then your abdomen just starts going bigger and bigger. And however many 100 sit-ups you may do, the tummy will not go down. So those are people who may be pressured to go and do what? Plastic surgery. But the specific question that was asked about how do you balance between social media and my daily life, me as an individual, I prioritize. I have time for social media, and I also have time for me, and I have time for serious work. Some people may think I'm always on social media, but that's not the case. And for all my followers, thank you. Please continue to follow. Subscribe. Yeah, thank you.
Okay. As we
I wanted to say something on the peer pressure. Because I noted something when Dr. Sabrina was saying, there is another thing. Although we want to fit in, there's a philosophical question here. Who sets the standards of beauty? That is what the question is. If you study the history of beauty, as he was saying earlier on, in the past, the women who are beautiful are those who had fat cheeks and fat bottom. Oh, I've learned a new word: fat assets.
Assets. It's just assets.
Assets or assets? Assets. I thought it's a business language, isn't it? So in the past, they used to fatten women because that's the standard of beauty. Now we are in a phase where people have set another standard. So although we say this is what beauty is, I read a story in South Sudan, I think a month ago. They have competition of men fattening themselves. They drink a lot of milk. The fatter you become, the more likable you are. So some of us would win those contests, isn't it, when we go there? But the issue is this. Society has what they call cultural totalitarianism. They try to force everyone to fit a certain what? A certain type of stereotype. And that's the pressure we have to handle and to deal with. Social media has made it worse now. Everyone who comes out wants to show their bum and their assets. Everyone, you can scroll for 9 hours watching the same thing. You not knowing that some of them are using video editing, others are putting in fake what? These things are silicone things, isn't it? And then you get an image that you are supposed to be like that. As she was saying, some people use filters. You want to have that picture perfect skin, which is not realistic in real life. Your skin is a live organ. It gets pimples, it gets what? We know those biological processes, isn't it? But the image you see is as if this person's skin has never suffered any pimple at all, which is unnatural. And we have set a very unnatural standard, which is becoming a burden for us. Now these people, the Dr. Areopagus, are cashing in. Because they promise you, we shall fix everything. They go, like Dr. Sabrina goes, comes back with scars. She spent more money for the what? Yeah. I was telling her here, whispering her that he has saved me money. My wife has been pressurizing me to go there to that clinic. Let me not mention the name again. Now I have a story to tell her. I'm going to say, I met an expert. Because she's also a medical doctor and a pediatrician. And she follows her. I said, this is your idol. She went there and she's had to spend more money to do what? To deal with the effect of the beautification. And this is what the industry hides. The repercussion of what you do. Like our friend was saying that she wants to go and change the eyelids. I was asking her, what do they put in the eyelids there? I don't know, but it may have some side effects.
So there's a lot of things that can be done to the eyelids, and one of the commonest one is tattooing or microsurgery with tattoos. I'm not sure if as Christians we really want to go and tattoo our eyebrows on. But I think the people who get pressured to do that, you know, as women, we want a picture-perfect eyebrow. Because beauty means that you're symmetrical. Your eyebrow, this side looks exactly like the other eyebrow. And if your eyes are exactly, because the standard of beauty was set by the Romans, that if you're beautiful, you're symmetrical. And that means that you're perfect. So people who have perfect eyebrows. You wake up in the morning, you draw on the eyebrows. You get tired. And so I hope you go through the process of going or deciding not to go, because if you, the deal after the deal may actually be more costly. Supposing it gets botched, me, that's what I usually fear. Supposing they don't draw it perfectly, and then you have to go back and then they straighten it, and my gosh, and then you have to see Dr. Lubega to redo your eyebrows or to implant some, you know, hair. That usually scares me.
I just wanted to just sort of like have a, what nobody ever tells you, kind of, as I conclude. So one, when you become from, we have had certain celebrities, let's say Bad Black, example. So she was dark and then she becomes light, okay? But what people don't know is you have to maintain, okay? As in everything, somebody will tell you it's cheap, you can do it. But the cost of undoing it becomes very expensive. For example, they are talking about the eyebrows, the microblading. When you do microblading, you actually have to go for touch-up, but nobody ever explains that to you. Because the dye you have is going to go away over time. If you do the IVs glutathione, you have to maintain because you're constantly battling nature, okay? When I intend to do a hair transplant, but I know when I do a hair transplant, I have to do it again after some time. So, and these are things they don't tell you. If you're doing, let's say you're doing there's a routine that they're selling these days for the facials. Okay, have a cleanser, have a moisturizer, have sunscreen, okay? And then they are retinol and these chemicals. Retinol affects pregnancy. It's also one of those things that have been banned in some countries that are teratogenic. But when somebody puts on their acne and it goes, they're very excited. But you don't know what the cost is, okay? So some of these things they don't tell you. I never do implants. So people come to me, they want silicone implants. I never do that. Because after some time, when you age, the implant will just be set there and it's dangling. Or if it's a buttock and you're like, it moves to the side, it moves to the side. Yeah, so there's some of these things they never tell you. There's a wonder drug that people are now on, Ozempic. She talked about the Ozempic phase. Yes, you cheat nature, and you think you've cheated nature in terms of dropping down your weight unhealthily, but they never tell you actually on Ozempic for life, because if you stop, then you have a rebound weight gain. So they never mention that. So you keep doing all these things, and you're tied up in a loop, and you keep doing. But also you're fighting nature, you're fighting aging, okay? I've had Botox done. So the reason why, so that I know what my patients go through. But I know that you're going to have to do it after 4 months. You have to do it again, okay? So they don't even tell you. For drugs like Botox, they need to maintain a cold chain, okay? So for sometimes you actually injected water because it's not working. And they never tell you that for some people. Because you have to maintain certain degrees, keep the drug in a particular way. But you go in and it's not. I recently had a patient yesterday who actually made me cry. So she's married to a white guy who's living abroad. They have one child. And so she was uncomfortable about her breasts. So she goes to one of these places downtown, a skin clinic, but it's actually one of those cosmetic place. So somebody mixes, they mix silicone plus some normal saline and inject in her breasts and her buttocks. So very huge volume of a wrong drug. She now has complications. I was telling her the easiest is to cut off her breasts because there's nothing I can do. But because of what she sees on the media and what people are selling to you, you kind of feel like, I have to do that, Don't feel pressured, and make sure you research and make sure where you're going or who you're going to. There are people who are qualified. Otherwise, you end up with complications more than you can be able to treat. Some of these celebrities will work on them, and then they're like, okay, they're now selling juices or selling certain things, but they never tell you the details. How did they get their body? Some of them have undergone plastic surgery, but they are selling a lifestyle, drink this, do this. It's all bullshit. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Doctor. We have one question. I think that you can keep with the microphone, Doctor. We have one question, and this is from Shadrach. He said, do they replace body parts that have been placed in the body? Do they function normally, okay, as before, or they are just for shape and beauty?
So it depends. For that guy where we put the fingers back, he can actually be able to move the physio. So it depends on what body parts, what his function is, and how long, whether the nerves and the muscles have been reestablished. So it depends on the kind of body parts that we are replacing.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, so let's take two final questions, and then we will wrap up with our panelists. Yourself, and then the gentleman behind you. Okay, yes, we'll have yours very last. Let's start with him.
Yes, thank you very much. I appreciate the discussion, and it is interesting. In light of what is being discussed, I've been researching on body modification for 6 years now, and it is with tattoos. And something comes up, and it is with a legal framework, because most of the studios are not having consent forms, and maybe the two doctors that now are in the field could guide whether there is a discussion on regulation, because most of the participants, others only wanted to participate if I will help them remove the tattoos, because some didn't want to have them again. So maybe it could be a discussion in the legal framework. Are we, just like you have given the session of no one will tell you this, how are we doing it more formal, especially in the legal framework? Thank you very much.
Thank you. Then another, just keep your question very short and make it pointed as well.
Okay, so good afternoon, everyone. My name is Mohammed Rema. I'm in first year, first semester, information technology. So my question is very simple. Majority of this discussion has been speaking about ethical issues in regards to the individuals that carry out plastic surgery. Let me say I go for plastic surgery as a person. My question goes for ethical considerations, like as a doctor who's going to carry out plastic surgery, are there any, let me say, procedures that you have to go through with that sort of patient to like tell them the repercussions of carrying out these specific things, or to ensure that that specific surgery that you're going to be carrying out is like ethical and like it goes within the laws of like being a doctor, something like that? Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. And then one final one. Yes.
Well, good afternoon. My name is Timothy Chebambe, BSIT. So now my question is, given all this information that you've told to us, I've noticed that probably the major problem we're having is social media, right? And I know plenty of people are going to live here and go increase on their screen time, maybe from 4 hours to 7 hours, you get? So what are some of the advisable social media handles people could go out and follow in order to learn self-confidence, and also learn how to keep themselves in the right states of mind, you get, so that they do not have that kind of peer pressure, you get. So what is that? Because I really feel that is really the core for now. Okay.
Thank you, Chebambe. Just to respond to you very quickly, is that join a Bible study group, join Navigators, join Alpha, and you know, and then those will make the most benefit of your time in terms of, you know, building your esteems and things like that. But anyways, I will kindly request our three doctors to give their response to that before we can have our dear Hannah and Opal also give their comments at the very end. So you can respond to the questions, then you give your final parting shot to that.
I'll start, and I'll talk about the legal framework regarding any body effect that is done to you, particularly tattoos. Of course, this is an unregulated field, and the National Drug Authority, for example, will not go into a tattoo chamber and decide on how they are doing it, how they are not. So as a country, we need to regulate certain practices so that if you go and get a tattoo, you should write a consent form, and that consent form should be detailed. Perhaps you who has been studying this area and this field for a very long time, you need to start a regulation around this space. It's very important because people do tattoos for passion. They do it because, you know, they are in love with this person and they write their name on their body. 10 years down the road, they are no longer in love and they want to remove the name and it can't come off. And so they go back to the tattoo artist and they are like, take it off. It cannot come off. I know that many of us as parents, we advise our children, but we know that children are in school most of the time, and children and young people are on social media a lot of the time. That deep conversation that we have with our children today is reducing. It's different from when we were children, that our parents used to sit us at a fireplace or at their feet and read to us a story. Today you cannot get young people to read to them a story. They will be like, hurry up. It's like they are very instantaneous. And this has been brought about because of the digital age, the instant, you know, people are more likely to join Snapchat. Because the story comes, it goes, and that is it. We forget. Or Instagram, where a picture-perfect story will sell. I would like to urge you, each and every one of us in this room, like the moderator said, join real human interaction. Because the connectedness, the understanding, the touching of a person is going to help you become a more balanced individual. We know today that reading the Bible can be through an AI, you know, hologram. But how about you physically pick up your Bible and read the lines and color them and understand and conceptualize them? Go for fellowship. Be with people who make you stronger. Because your networks, yes, are your net worth, but the people you surround yourself with are going to influence you ultimately. And if you are surrounding yourself with hours and hours of social media of people you don't even know, who are, by the way, using AI to be picture perfect and have a six-pack, when in fact they are catfishing you. That when you meet the real person, my gosh, they have like a one-pack, they are sloppy. So try and look for role models who are really legit. And as I wind up, I'd like to say thank you. This conversation should not stop here. We should continue to talk about it. But last of all, I'd like to say that every scar on your body tells a story. So be proud of the scars you have. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Somebody asked about the tattoos. Dr. Sabrina has talked about it. I recently had somebody he was at university and wanted to join the army. And they don't allow tattoos. And so this is a person who actually wanted to have the tattoo and I told them I couldn't do it. So sometimes as you make certain decisions, you have to think about it. There's another one who was going for a job, and that job they were very strict, no tattoos. So she actually opted me to cut away the tattoo. And it was a very huge scar on the arm because of the tattoo. Some people have got keloids, scars from the tattoo removal. I've seen people screaming in tattoo parlors trying to have the laser hair removal. Most of those lasers are cheap and they're not effective, and you end up having a lot of heavy scarring. So you need to be aware of. Of course, there's no regulation around it. So what are the ethical considerations for me as a plastic surgeon? So one, in most times, I could be a plastic surgeon. I am a plastic surgeon, but I also subscribe to God, okay? I subscribe to Jesus. I read my Bible, okay? So there's a moral compass to the kind of work I do. Of course, there are certain things that are ethical. The lines can be so thin that you have to cross sometimes. Also, when I get patients, of course, you go through the informed consent procedure. But also for me, as a plastic surgeon, Actually, my turnaround time, if you came to me and say you want a tummy tuck now, I'll probably work on you in 3 months. Because I need to be sure, absolutely sure, you're the right candidate, you've thought about the procedure that you're going to do, and you're ready to suffer the repercussions. So, for example, yesterday I had a patient who came in and they had done, there's what they call bat wings, where you have your hands are very shabby. They call them bat wings, okay? So she went somewhere and she had done a procedure. So after that, she actually did 5 procedures because something went wrong. So her wound kept breaking down, okay? But she knew, she was mentally prepared of what she was going to do. But of course, she didn't know she was going to go through 5 other procedures. She actually ended up moving to another practice after that because she was really, really bothered about the fact that she had to do repeat surgeries. So most of these, they are not as you'll walk in and walk out and it's done and it's different. No, some things go bad, but you have to be prepared. So the best doctor is not the doctor who doesn't get complications, but it's the doctor who knows, even if I do, can I be able to deal with this, okay? Some of us go to places, but the places, they're not well trained, they don't know how to deal with your complications, and yeah, there's always an untold story. Make sure you do your research, find out more information, as much information, and also some people are a bit secretive. You want to go for a procedure alone, but when you get a complication, now how are you going to tell other people to help you? If you get a complication, you need to have somebody you talk to. Don't keep it in hiding if you're doing something. Make sure you have somebody to support you throughout the journey. Sometimes in this country, we have people who fly in, do procedure, and fly out. Or you go somewhere, do a procedure, and come back. There's a lot of medical tourism without continuity of care. It's important that whatever you decide, there's a continuity. Have a personal relationship with your doctor so that they will be with you. Even if you call them in the middle of the night, I have a complication, they'll be able to listen to you. Thank you.
My parting shots are on the question of the meaning of life. I know we don't have, as Dr. Sabina said, we don't have time to dig deep in some of these questions. Please join the Areopagus and discuss these issues. I'm happy that most of you have sat down up to the very end. Such questions, you need to understand what life is about. This is the challenge we have in our digital instant satisfaction age. We want instant gratification. I want it now, now, now. I have a baby shower in 2 months. Let me go for Dr. Lubega, fix my stomach so that the pictures are nice. That's how most of us are living our life. It is instant gratification. But what is the meaning of your life? That is a very deep question, which cannot be answered in a short 1 hour discussion. It takes time. So go join groups where they discuss these matters, such as Christian groups, the Areopagus, and many other platforms where you discuss these issues. There are many social media, someone asked about those social media accounts. We don't have them, the hashtags now, but there are many social media accounts where they discuss these matters. The good thing is that when you begin to search for them, the algorithm will bring you more and more. But if you search for who has the biggest asset, who has this, you are going to get what you have searched for. So go and think about the meaning of existence. Is it about beautifying my outward, or there's something deep about life? She also mentioned that please meet people who you meet them one-on-one. Many people are telling lies on social media. There are even fake doctors. You heard them mention them. They are here in Uganda. They inject you they mix color and funny things and inject you. By the time you come back, the clinic is closed, the office is not there. And the money is gone. So, have these people whom you can really talk to and they give you the actual implication of this issue of beautification. And they also watch out for what they call shallow spiritualities. They are spiritualities that promise you things that are not meaningful. Life is about quick fixes. There are so many so-called life coaches online. Dr. Sabina talked about them. I mean Dr. Areopagus mentioned them, they are selling you products. So they tell you, I did this. Bad Black is telling you that you can be beautiful. They put a stone on your cheek. It shows that you are beautiful. When there's a dark spot near your mouth, then they whiten the teeth. So many things that are good. Those are shallow spiritualities. They don't really give you deep meaning about what life is about. So you need to, since we're in a Christian environment, I'm free to mention this. You need to seek for deeper spiritual meaning in your life. Many of us want quick fixes. If you had a wound, this is my last parting shot. If you had a wound in the past, maybe you were molested, or you suffered, or you went through a very traumatic experience, plastic surgery is not going to fix it. You need inner healing. You need to heal and to be at home or at peace with yourself. And there's no way you can be at peace with yourself when you're not at peace with God. There is no way you're going to be living life when you are running away from God. You have to confront yourself with God. That's when you get lasting peace in yourself. And you know that God made you the way you are. You are short, 5 inches or 4 inches. There's a story behind your height. God wants to tell a story through your life, through what you are. Ask God, what is the meaning of my existence? You are going to find people, there's a man, I've forgotten the name, who was born with no legs and no arms. And he has become a global star. He actually doesn't need Dr. Areopagus anymore. If Dr. Areopagus fixes his legs, he will lose his what? His meaning. Are you getting what we're talking about? Your meaning comes from God, not from experiences. So you may find that that limb which is twisted may be a story God wants you to tell the world. And it will make the purpose why you exist. Thank you very much.
I think I just want to try and pick on from where Dr. Dixon left. The meaning of life is a very hard question. I actually do advise a lot of young people to explore philosophy. It's not an easy place to be, but I think the moment you get down that hole and you explore some of these ideas and you deal with some of the demons that you find down there, when you get out, you don't live the same. And so spaces like this are really important. I just want to speak on a few things. One is the desires that we have. We are born with desires. And if we didn't have these desires, then I don't think there would be any meaning in life. And God gave us these desires. God gave us the desire to be accepted, to feel loved, to even look good. I mean, in that way, we are then we're then glorifying Him. I do want to caution against trying to fulfill those desires using anything that is not God. That is the typical definition of idolatry, to get a truth and replace it with something that is not true. God created you, and He took time mending you in your mother's womb. And that's what the Psalm tells us. If you do not believe in that and you want to take a quick fix, that is going to come back to bite you, because idolatry will come back to bite you. And so let us just try and allow Christ to feel these desires. If you want to feel loved, there is so much love in Christ. If you want to feel accepted, Jesus calls everyone, whether you're a sinner or not, it doesn't matter your experience, go to Christ. If you want to feel special, in Him we have our purpose. And so the moment we stop trying to find our meaning and our identity and our value in other things, we can go back to what we are supposed to do and actually glorify God when we are in Him. So I just want to address that. There are so many times in which cosmetic surgeries are good, but do not do it because you just can't live with yourself. Do not do that to yourself. And I think I would just advise, just look to Christ. He's beautiful. He's the most beautiful. And if you spend time with Him, in fellowship with Him, in fellowship in people that love Him, you will see His beauty, and He will define what your value is. He will define what your beauty is, and He will define what your identity is. You get done with that, it doesn't matter. Whether you're short, whether you're tall, whether you have a big nose, whether you have a big head, it doesn't matter. Your value is fixed on a rock that doesn't shift. Okay, and I just want to read 1 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 23, and I'll be done. I'm going to read from the classic amplified version, because it really brings it out properly. It says, all things are legitimate, permissible, and we are free to do anything that we please. That's what Paul is saying to the church in Corinth. He says, but not all things are helpful, profitable, and wholesome. All things are legitimate, but not all things are constructive to character and edifying your spiritual life. Your beauty will go, but what remains in eternity, in the perspective of eternity, is your character, it's your heart, it's who you are. So let's stop playing games with our hearts and let's just go back to Christ and get this sorted out. Yeah.
Okay, listen.
For my closing remarks, I'm going to try and finish quickly. It comes from 1 Corinthians chapter 6, verse 19 to 20. Do you not know that your bodies are temples of the Holy Spirit who is in you, whom you have received from God? You are not your own, you are bought at a price. So this is something that hasn't really been talked much about in Christianity. Of course, yes, I do. The Bible, and quote this, the Bible does it's very heavy on modesty. That's 1 Timothy 2:9 and 1 Peter 3:4-5. It's very, very heavy on modesty. You can be beautiful and cover up. You can. And one thing I think people in the church have taken it as is modesty means you're lousy. You dress lousily. You can be modest and be very beautiful. You can dress in the best attire. You can look your best, because you can look your best when you're going for a date, what? Why can't you look best when you're in the church? When you dress your best, it doesn't mean that you're taking away the whole point of modesty. It does not at all. And when I was trying to figure out what to wear today, actually, I had this and I had something else. Not that the other one was worse than this, no. I called my mom yesterday and she was like, pray for what you're going to wear tomorrow. I prayed. In my head, it's not something I've really thought so much about, it in the past anyway. She told me to pray and my whole outfit changed today. And I'm really happy for that, because I do know that in everything I do, according to 1 Corinthians 10:31, in everything you do, whether eat or drink or anything else, do it to glorify God. Much as it seems so small, everything you do, the way you represent God, the way you dress, whatever you do outside, whether it's in church or outside church, it must be to glorify God. But you cannot get that conviction if you've not asked Him. Yeah, I think that's it.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's give another round of applause and deeply thank our panelists and thank them for the wonderful, wonderful insights that they have shared with us. And another round of applause to you for coming and being part of these conversations. Thank you very, very much. And again, for those that are engaged in these kinds of conversations, they are classic texts that we read in Worldviews that are very foundational. And the book by Charles Colson, How Now Shall We Live? And he wrestles with the questions that Dr. Dixon was talking about. The question of who are we as human beings? What defines us? Where did we come from? That's the question of our finding our origin. And what is our purpose? The questions of meaning. And finally, the question on destiny in terms of, what is our end game, when all this is done. So I'm very, very thankful that we're wrestling with these kinds of questions. And thank you once again, our panelists. We're very, very grateful for having spared your time to come and be in this space. The question that I would have loved to ask Dr. Lubega maybe another time is how much do some of these things cost? Maybe we'll ask that another time. And so, Yes, so the final formality of this is that, again, before I say that, these conversations continue on our social media handles. DRPI, you'll find Directorate of Research, Partnerships and Innovations on X, formerly Twitter. We have these conversations going on. So go there and let's continue with the conversations. Ask your questions and engage with us on that front. And so allow me invite the Director of the Directorate of Research, Partnership and Innovations, Professor Elizabeth, you're most welcome, to appreciate our panelists, but also send them off in the UCU way. So you're most welcome.
I am very, I don't know, it would underestimate the kind of excitement that I have in my heart at the discussions that we have had today, which touch the very core of who we are, how we see ourselves, or what we perceive others think when they see us. Our greatest hope is that each one of you has a takeaway about who you really are, a takeaway of that you would appreciate who you are, that you would appreciate who others are, and most of all, appreciate how God sees you. We would like to greatly appreciate our panelists today. They have done a great job. Can we give them a... We are very grateful, Dr. Lubega, Dr. Sabrina, Dr. Kanakulia, Karis, and Hannah. Your insights, the depth with which you have discussed the different, the angles with which we can look at beauty, beauty standards, the ethics of, and as Dr. Tumwebaze has said, the discussion continues online and even in your groups. I know you have Bible study groups in your classes as well. We would like to appreciate the Department of Fine Arts, Visual Arts. Did you like the confidence they showed here? I think we should have them do it again, you know? A very beautiful job. Very beautiful. We are very thankful for bringing out even the excellence of beauty, even in attire. Beauty starts from the outside right through to the inside. To our panelists, we would like to give you something small to appreciate the time that you have spent with us, to appreciate you for the insights, for all that you have been to us this afternoon. Thank you very much. We'll start with Dr. Lubega, please. Yeah, thank you. Dr. Sabrina, make sure you follow her. Have you already started? Check out her social media. Dr. Kanakulia. Hannah. And last but not least, Caris. We have come to the end of our Areopagus debate today. This is something that we shall be doing every semester. If you have questions that you think, especially which they seem to be in a gray area, you may not necessarily have it obvious, but that you may wish to have a discourse on this, feel free to drop in your opinion. If you're willing to participate in arranging a debate like this, please come up. We need these volunteers. We need your thoughts. We need to brainstorm over this. You're very welcome. I would like to appreciate my team. They've done a great job. Dr. Miriam, Fiona Twesigomwe, Dr. Tumwebaze, Hamilton Bokreba. You can smile and wave. Yes, and every one of you who has made it for our debate this afternoon, thank you very much, and may God bless you.
So thank you very much, friends. Allow me request our dear Reverend Dr. Feta to close us in prayer, and then we will take a group photo with all who can be able to fit in, okay? Remember, they told us that we're beautiful in the eyes of the Lord. So those that are taller than the podium, you'll stand at the back. Taller than this, you'll stand at the back. And those that are a little taller, like Reverend Feta, you'll stand at the bottom with the speaker.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the honors of being here. It's normally not easy to pray after listening to some things like this. I'm saying so because whatever prayer do you pray when you listen to such type of discourse? But there are two words I'll use in my prayer, and I want to give context that you can contemplate after. And one is accountability. There is a space in Genesis 9 where the animals are called to account, the humans are called to account, and the humans are called to account for the other humans. So that's very, very interesting. Genesis 9:5. I want to draw your attention to that. But as I pray, remember this is going to be about accountability to the animals, accountability to yourself, and accountability to humans like you. The second is expert counsel. I draw it from the book of Esther. When the queen refused to show her beauty to the king summoned and she stopped being queen. So beauty has an end. It's now, but tomorrow morning it can be something else. And do your best. The king found wisdom in having enough expert counsel. And Esther 1:2 are plenty. Let's stand and I use these words to put it together. God, you who has woven us before time began. You have knit us, as you say in Psalm in our mother's wombs. You know every detail of who we are. Help us and speak life and breath to every ligament, to every vein, to every muscle, and everything that has life that makes our system to live, move, and have being. That we will respond with accurate accountability. But that, Lord, we won't miss your godly counsel. May you attract to each of these persons here such wisdom that their lives will glorify you to eternity. And bless the directorate, bless the speakers, and bless each one who has come here. That you who is infinite, may you renew us in your eternal beauty, the one you revealed in Christ Jesus. And may the blessings that come in him, from him, and through him, in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, lead you now and always. Amen.
Okay, so I'm kindly requesting us, those that are able to, let us take a group picture on these steps here. I think, can we be able to?